Hey gang, welcome back to another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates. Thanks for joining me as always. I run through the new releases that have appeared in the store this week, and I try to bring it to you with the least amount of pomposity as possible. I'm just here to kind of share the information, and I give little reviews at the end of recommends. So, this week I've got a lot to get to. We're doing the week of August 30th, 2024. The last couple weeks have been sort of light ish. So this week I feel like I'm really starting to make up for that. And next week is going to be kind of crazy, I think. And it's bad because it's a short week, and there's going to be some store closures around Labor Day. So look on Facebook if you want to stay up to date with when you want to come to the store. It's really just Sunday through Tuesday and part of Wednesday also. So anyway, so much, and a lot of exciting stuff. So let me get started. I usually start these videos with the big box sets or whatever coming first. And so this week I'll start with that. There were actually 3 or 4 of these that were released, but I don't know if they've all shipped yet or not. We've only gotten the one first. So it doesn't say that they're super limited, but this is the Miles Davis Quintet, live in Europe 1967. This is a 5 LP box set done by Music on Vinyl. Very nice. Features Wayne Shorter, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, and Tony Williams. 1967, a prime year for him. 5 LPs in superior sound and packaging, complete with 16-page booklet. So this runs about 140, 145. So it's nice. I wouldn't want to have one of these corners fall on me. They're really sharp. So anyway, beautiful box set. And then the other sort of box set-y thing this week that is getting sort of major press because they just announced their reunion after 15 years apart fighting, and that would be Oasis. And they have had planned on, it kind of feels like, was this planned? Reissuing their first album, Definitely Maybe, which came out 30 years ago. So that means the two brothers Gallagher have been separated for as long as they were together. It's interesting how they changed this cover and sort of took the people out of the image just to sort of make it a special edition. But this is the deluxe edition. It's a 4 LP set. So if you have this album already, you may want to consider getting this again, because this is and if you like it, and I think it's a great album, includes unreleased original Mono Valley versions, Mono Monnow, and Sawmill studio outtakes. So this has the original album in it, and then it has 2 records of bonus recordings of a lot of the songs that ended up on the album. But what happened was they started recording the album and didn't really like the results and scrapped it and then started over, and we ended up with what we have now. So this is the first time that those original tapes have been released. So some of them have no overdubs. Some are probably a little more differing from the original than others. Some not much, but at least you'll be able to hear them as they were before they kind of hit the end stage. The other version that's out is this 2 LP edition that's on kind of a clouded pink vinyl. And Strawberries and Cream is what they say here. We don't have a lot of these, but yeah, the album's been available for a while on vinyl, so this is just a sort of a new remastering, new pressing. Okay, so far you got Miles Davis and Oasis. Uh, an album that I've been looking to forward to for a while now, and I think I've mentioned it here on the channel, but I'm really excited about this one. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Wild God. This album was announced almost 3 months ago, I think, but Nick has sort of tried to get himself a little bit out of being sort of morose about everything for a while. With good reason. You know, when you lose a child, and he lost two of them, it's kind of hard to come back from that when you sort of get in a zone of being always sort of quiet and reflective. And this album is much more optimistic, probably the most optimistic I've heard from him. I don't know if he's ever sounded this cheerful. Uh, and is usually pretty like gothy or dark or whatever, as I reviewed his Murder Ballads album a couple weeks ago as a recommends. But this is the new album, limited edition clear vinyl with a 12-inch art print. That's the indie version. And I think it's like, I don't know if it's just plain clear. There's also just the regular without the art print. Um, but the art print is it's a pinkish color on the back. But yeah, and that's the indie version. So very excited to hear this. Warren Ellis is still part of the Bad Seeds, and but yeah, heard a couple songs or parts of songs, and they sounded great. They're very more sort of engaged, a lot more percussion, vocals, guitar. So yeah. All right, and you know, as a keyboardist, I love keyboards, but sometimes it can be a lot. And they were they were very wonderful, reflective albums. But yes, it's time to move on. Um, okay, a couple of original jazz classics this week. The OJC series. We get Miles Davis Quintet. So this is your second Miles Davis appearance today. This is the new Miles Davis Quintet, as it's so called, and Miles is the name of the album. And this is what, 19? I want to say it's late 50s, 55. Lacquers cut by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. So this features John Coltrane on sax, Red Garland on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums. So you can't get much better than that. And then the other OJC, which is surprising because sometimes they don't come in twos, or hadn't been, but we get In Orbit by, you can't tell who this is, Clark Terry and Thelonious Monk. And yeah, so this one, what year did this come out? Is it going to tell me here? I hate it when I have to search for these things in the middle of the video. I should just look them up first. 1958. So we're talking mid-late 50s for both of these. I love this picture of them. Looks like I don't know what building they're in front of. Some New York skyscraper here, probably. But yeah, let's see. So this is one of Riverside's most valuable talent scouts. Oh, Thelonious Monk, in addition to many of his other notable qualities, was actually one of Riverside's most valuable talent scouts, recommending such mainstays as Johnny Griffin and Wilbur Ware, and introducing the label to Sonny Rollins and Clark Terry. The astoundingly adept trumpeter was always greatly appreciated by Thelonious, who quickly accepted the invitation to accompany Terry on this occasion. Album full of firsts and rarities. Monk's only Riverside appearance as a sideman, the first of Terry's many recordings on flugelhorn, the first of a great many Riverside dates for the great bassist Sam Jones, and the only occasion on which Monk and drummer Philly Joe Jones ever recorded together. So, kind of interesting. Yeah. Couple of really good OJCs this week. Okay. And if it's not an OJC, it's a Verve Acoustic Sounds or a Blue Note Classic. Speaking of Verve Acoustic Sounds, we got one from them this week. Stan Getz and Sweet Rain. And This is, I think, a little bit later, maybe. I want to say late 60s or early 70s. You can kind of maybe tell from the picture on the back there, but this is mastered at QRP from the original analog tapes. Some Stan Getz. And I think, Stan Getz Stan Getz gets reissued a lot when he's with like Astrid or Joao Gilberto. Not as much on his own, and that one looks like a very nice one. So, all right, another reissue, kind of an interesting thing. U2 Zoo TV Live in Dublin, 1983 EP. So this is it's a 5-song EP on yellow vinyl. Limited edition for the first time ever, features 5 tracks, including 4 unreleased from the groundbreaking tour. It's a neon transparent yellow. The songs are Zoo Station, Mysterious Ways, Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World, Stay Far Away So Close, and Love is Blindness. Such a great tour. Really, really fantastic. It's so different from what they'd done before. They really changed up their game at that point. Denzel Curry. This album is his new record, King of the Mischievous South, Volume 2. This has been very well received. This is on limited edition neon violet vinyl. Denzel's one of the hottest rappers around right now. And I think this came out a few weeks ago streaming. So it's out on vinyl and CD now. Mondo Cosmo. And a new record from Mondo Cosmo. I love this artwork. Isn't that great? It's crazy. It's called Its Principle. Deluxe LP features the singles Angels, Wild Horses, and includes bonus 7-inch vinyl in this version featuring Operator, I'm Alright, and Girl from the North Country. I'm assuming all cover versions. Is I'm Alright the song from Caddyshack? I don't know. And it's also on a 3-color stripe vinyl. It's like pink and white, and I can't remember what else, but it's a great album cover, very eye-catching. Mondo Cosmo usually has pretty cool album covers. So another really interesting album cover, and an artist that keeps cranking them out. It's been a little while now though. Ty Segall and his new album Love Rudiments. I don't know. I've kind of lost track of Ty, what you're getting from album to album, because for a while there were quite a lot. I mean, it's sort of like the OCs, Ty Segall, and King Gizzard were the 3 that were sort of vying for who could do the most records in a year status. And some of his records I really enjoyed, and then others, like, he would get sort of like, oh, I can't remember which one it was that he was playing the organ. I was like, I don't know about this. But anyway, check out Love Rudiments if you're interested in Ty to see what he's up to. This is interesting. Yanis and the Yaw. And this is Lagos, Paris, and London featuring Tony Allen. Yanis is the lead singer, I believe, of Foals. Yanis Philip, I can't even say his name. Philippakis. It's a long name. Sorry, Greeks. I've really butchered that. I love his name too. Tony Allen, rest in peace. Sort of a famous drummer, African roots. I believe he was British or ended up there anyway. This features red transparent vinyl, and Tony is, I believe, since passed away. And he was also playing with Good, the Bad, and the Queen. That was Damon Albarn of Blur and Gorillaz fame, side project. They did a couple records, and their last record was one of my, I think it was my choice for album of the year when it came out. I want to say like 2019, maybe 2019 at this point. It's been a little while. Anyway, so those must have been in the works for a bit. AWOL Nation, new record. This one is called The Phantom Five, and I don't know, AWOL Nation's been around for a while now, so if you're into AWOL Nation, you know exactly what to expect. If you don't, look them up. Laurie Anderson, I love Laurie. She's been around for decades, widow of Lou Reed, and her stuff was always so like interesting from a art school sort of standpoint. She tells a lot of stories and uses electronics a lot to do that. Very theatrical. And this is her new album, Amelia, which is based on the story of Amelia Earhart. And she actually started working on this, I want to say maybe 20 years ago, 25, and said something like the first performance of this that she did in a theater was, what was the term she used? Something like a disaster. So it's been a long time refining it and whatever. So we finally get a 1 LP. I think it's 22. It's 22 tracks. There's a lot of sort of storytelling, and she's she's a very like, if you're into sort of like art school. I don't know if I necessarily call it avant-garde, but it's sort of more art school type music. Check that out. Um, she used to do duets with Peter Gabriel and people like back in the 80s. The Bug Club. This is their new Sub Pop release on the Loser vinyl, and the name of this is, I think it's got a long name. On the, see, I can't read it without raising my glasses. On the intricate inner workings of the system. It's so small, people. On the inner workings of the, on the intricate inner workings of the system. That's too long to remember. But yeah. Anyway, this is a first pressing color vinyl. Bug Club. It's got kind of a nice embossed thing going on there. Yeah. There's the back. Okay. Country people. Luke Combs. New Luke Combs. This is called Fathers and Sons. I guess that looks heartwarming. I know somebody who would love this album. Not personally, but I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Anyway, Luke Combs. If you're into country music, you know who he is already. So, The Nails. This is a new album from The Nails. It's called Every Bridge Burning, pressed on transparent forest green vinyl. It's a pretty cool cover. It's kind of, and it's hard to see here, but you can kind of see their name when you turn it towards the light. It says The Nails there. It's sort of like a more shiny where their name appears, but pretty cool. All right, and that's on, I think, is that on Epitaph? Nuclear Blast. Ironically, I just saw this movie last week, and I don't know why I had. Well, I don't know. I sort of missed it when it was in the theater, and I was dying to see it because I love the people who wrote the music for this. But this is the new Wonka soundtrack. This was the score written by Neil Hannon and Joby Talbot. The songs were by Neil and the music was by Joby. And this is a 2 LP color vinyl. It's kind of chocolatey looking. It's a very nice package, although it's sort of, the records seem to be kind of coming out the side a little bit. But this features Oompa Loompa, sung by Hugh Grant, which is awesome. And a bunch of Timothy Chalamet sung songs. He did a very good job. I thought he was, it wasn't as creepy weird as Johnny Depp's interpretation, and wasn't also as like untrustworthy as the first one. Is it Elliot? I can't remember the name right now. But I feel like that he sort of gave a kind of a very charming portrayal of Willy Wonka, and it was a very good movie. The reason I bring this all up, though, is because Neil Hannon, I've mentioned here before. I don't know if I've mentioned by name, but he's one of my favorite singer-songwriter artists from England. I mean, he's got Irish heritage or something, but was in the band Divine Comedy. He and Joby were integral parts of that. Divine Comedy still goes on. It's mostly a Neil Hannon project right now because Joby has gone on to do a lot of soundtrack work. But Joby, a fantastic musician and artist, and Neil, one of the best songwriters from the UK, I think, in the last 30 years, maybe. I mean, I'm putting him up there with like some of the other people that I revere greatly. Always wry kind of humor and very like sweet songs that are so heartfelt, and then kind of crazy dark songs, interesting topics, and very Brit. He's very Brit pop, sort of came out of that whole era. Even though I think a lot of these artists, if they came through Britpop and moved on from that and they'd sort of transcended that if they're still doing stuff. So I hesitate to say, oh, he's a Britpop artist, but I think he's so much more than that, and so that's why I kind of went into that discussion. But check out the Wonka soundtrack, or at least see the movie, and revel in the greatness of the music that I think was in it. Really fantastic job. It was up for a lot of awards too. David Bowie gets a reissue this week. Yes, David Bowie this far into the video already. 20 minutes, that never happens. Usually at the front. But this is his first technically solo record that as his own, using his own name. Very mod looking here, very mod. It's on sort of a green vinyl, limited edition. It's a deluxe 2024 reissue of the 1967 debut album. So this is before Space Oddity, and there's a bonus full-length LP with additional recordings, including "Sell Me a Coat" remix. Again, very mod. But there's a lot of good stuff here. I think Uncle Arthur's fun. Love You Till Tuesday ended up being sort of on other things. When I Live My Dream is very stagey. I love Silly Boy Blue. I think that's great. Please Mr. Gravedigger is a little interesting. This has the London Boys mono Laughing Gnome single version. And then I thought there was a version of Space Oddity on here. That might just be on the CD, but anyway, mono and stereo mixes of stuff from that, if interested. That's sort of more of an, I mean, I don't want to downplay that album, but it's a little more of an archival type release at this point, where I think most people consider Space Oddity being his real sort of debut entry point, but unless you're living in England, and then maybe you think otherwise, I guess. But Elliott Smith, Roman Candle, and this is another. They've been doing these Kill Rock Stars indie exclusive color vinyl editions, and these have been fairly limited so far. So, and you can also see over here, sneaking into my picture, XO is back on vinyl too, and so is the last one that he did. Why can't I think of the name right now? Figure Eight. So we have those again. Amazing. Sometimes I started ordering these a lot a while ago, and sometimes I'm wondering, like, if I just keep ordering stuff, will it eventually just show up? It's kind of starting to feel like that. So many records I never thought I'd see again. Stabbing Westward, a 90s classic, speaking of which. This is the 30th anniversary of Ungod, 1,000 individually numbered copies on translucent red and black marbled vinyl from Music on Vinyl. This was actually kind of an indie sort of rock radio hit. Trying to remember, Lost Control, Nothing, Lies. There were a bunch of sort of, and it was also produced by an engineer by John Fryer, who did a lot of stuff with like Love and Rockets, and so a great producer. Let's see. Also, another reissue of Sebadoh Bake Sale. This is the 30th anniversary of this record. If you're into Sebadoh or Dinosaur Jr., this album is a classic on silver metallic vinyl. Probably won't stick around that long on that color. But anyway, Sebadoh. Oh, we've got a Dr. John release this week. This is the extended edition of The Brightest Smile in Town. It boasts 6 tracks making their vinyl debut, plus an extended alternate of the title track. And I don't know if it's color vinyl, it doesn't say. But this is from late 70s or early 83. So still fairly early. Not super early, but mid-period. Albert King live blues, and this is the finest live blues album Albert King ever made, according to this little Obi here. Features the hits Stormy Monday, Kansas City, and Watermelon Man. Vinyl has been out of print and unavailable until now, whatever that means. 1 white and 1 black vinyl, collector's edition, 1 pressing worldwide. This is Culture Factory. Watermelon Man's the first track on it. There's a track called Blues at Sunrise. It's 11 minutes long, and Jam in A flat is 16 minutes long. It's a double album, so you get time to stretch out. A couple of other albums. This one's for the young people. Smino's Noir. Smino's a hip hop rapper. I saw my college age nephew last year. He kept mentioning Smino was one that he liked. So there you have that. Let's see here. Rocksteady. This is ska and rocksteady classics from Treasure Isle Recordings Volume 1. It's another Culture Factory. Music of Jamaica, first time ever released on vinyl, featuring the mega massive hits The Tide is High, Hey Hey Baby, and Carry Go Bring Come. Translucent yellow vinyl, one world pressing. So yeah, Tide is High by the Paragons is on here. That's cool. You can hear where Blondie's version came from. Okay, this is another thing that I have to bring up here. So Chet Baker, sort of, I want to get these in kind of an order. I don't know if these are actually in any order, really. There are 3 Chet Baker reissues this week. 2 are by the Chet Baker Quartet. Let's see. There's this one. These are on, it says Barclay discs. Decca. Decca's repressing these. So they're going to be decent quality. They're made in France. This is the first of the 3. This is Chet Baker Quartet. And they do a Rondette, Peace Caprice, Mid Forte, Research Pomp, Sadwalk, etc., etc. All right, and then there's this one also. It's a different quartet, different pianist. This one has, I don't know if people know who this is, Dick Zwardzik on piano, and this one Gerard Gustin on piano. And some of the other people are saying this features Summertime, You Go to My Head, Tenderly, Lover Man, These Foolish Things, Autumn in New York. So this one's got some pretty romantic-y stuff on it. And then there's also this one. There were 3, like I said. Chet Baker and his quintet with Bobby Jasper. And this one features How About You, Once in a While, Chiquita, Chet, Dinah, Tasty Pudding. These are all like, I think mid-50s recordings. So if you're a Chet fan, I've never seen these before. So and Decca put them out. Good for them. They need to get more in the game. And then there's this Sun Ra and his orchestra. His Astro Infinity Orchestra, Strange Strings Expanded Edition. This is like a double record. Very nice pressing. A very nice heavy tip-on jacket. Worlds Approaching stereo. String Strange mono. And then that continues. There's like 20 minutes of that. Yeah. Anyway, if you're into Sun Ra, you might want to check that out. Strange Strings. Oh, gosh. I told you guys there's a lot today. How many more do I have to do? Not too many. Tenacious D, Rise of the Phoenix. I don't know if I can show that, really. And the other Tenacious D, Post Apocalypto. Well, they sort of got in a little hot water recently when Kyle Gass said some stuff on stage about Trump's attempted assassination. And they sort of had to cancel the tour because, I mean, he sort of got canceled. He was just speaking what he felt, but yeah, it was probably not appropriate. So anyway, but what is appropriate about Tenacious D? If you're going to a Tenacious D concert, I think you know what you're sort of you have to know what you're in for. I don't know. Maybe not. If someone drags you to it, you might not know what you're in for, but Jack Black, it's a little irreverent. Hey, the Archies, and then this is a reissue of, the first album, I think, or the only album, pink, black, and white splatter vinyl. It's got Sugar Sugar on it. Their huge hit. Catching up on fun. It's got Archie, Betty, Veronica. What a blast. All right. Foreplay, Journey. I think they also released Between the Sheets, and that's a very famous record, but it was very expensive. I want to say pushing $70 so maybe on Music on Vinyl. This is the 20th anniversary of this one. So this came out 2004. Limited edition of 1,000 numbered copies on smoky color vinyl. Trying to remember who all was in Foreplay, but they're pretty famous guys. For jazz guys, which is why they chose that name. Let's see. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, Make It Happen. You don't see this very often at all, and if you do, it's usually beat up. So very nice pressing of this. I think it's just black vinyl, but it's the original mono master. It features the Tears of a Clown on this album. So 1967 is when this came out. And another new release, Sideways, the soundtrack to that motion picture, finally out on vinyl. In Search of Wine, In Search of Women, In Search of Themselves. It's on claret colored vinyl. This was a pretty cool soundtrack by Rolf Kent. So if you're interested. Okay. I don't really have time to go through what's coming out in the next few weeks because I think it's crazy the amount of stuff that's coming out. Excited that they just announced yesterday that the second album by The Smile, Radiohead side project with Tom and Johnny. I don't know if I call it a side project because they're on their third album in 2-3 years, is coming out October 4th. So that's very exciting. And the songs sound really cool. Totally different than Wall of Eyes from earlier this year. So, all right. So I was like, well, what am I going to recommend this week? And I've been picking sort of albums that are sort of, I guess, meaningful to me in some ways too. So this week I decided to pick something sort of off the beaten path. And I've mentioned them on this channel before too, but Yellow, You Gotta Say Yes to Another Excess. I don't think I've talked about this album, but this is the one that sort of, I would say, is their most accessible early entry point. They had 2 albums before this, that were great but very odd, very very quirky. And this is still quirky, but it's also got sort of a more mainstream kind of 80s vibe to it. They're the ones that on the following album after this, Stella would do "Oh Yeah" from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So this is a little bit before that. This would have been like the era when they were kind of like coming over to New York and playing shows and stuff. At the time, they were three people. You had Dieter, Boris, and Carlos. And Carlos eventually he left after this album, so it's just the two. And they've been a duo ever since. They're still making albums. They've probably made at this point almost 20 albums. Boris, sort of like they're Swiss, and so I don't know. They kind of have these suave-looking, kind of almost French German demeanor, I suppose. But Boris is like I consider sort of a sonic genius. He has amassed over the years something like 1 million sounds in his computer database, and his stuff is so constructed in such a way that you know immediately when you hear it, it's them. And you can't say that about a lot of electronic music to really stand out. He's like an artist who paints, and so he was a great musician. And then Dieter came along. Dieter was a young guy who was interested in professional gambling. It became an addiction for him. He also was an avid golfer, I believe. But the gambling thing really, he talked about that in some recent forums, how he was just trying to basically get away from that and find something that was more of a creative outlet. And sort of, it was sort of, it was making money, but it was sucking his soul. And he is like one of the most unique vocal. I can't even really call him a singer necessarily. He sings, but it's more. There's a lot of talking, and there's a lot of like very brooding, kind of like vocal intonation on like certain low pitches a lot, and put with Dieter's with Boris's music and soundscapes. It's really something that's pretty fascinating. So, in brief, this album, 1983, features a couple of sort of like songs that are kind of I would call like suave electronic balladry. "I Love You" has got kind of this quirky. It starts the album. It's got like a call and response. "I love you," and the girl goes, she goes, "I love you," and he says, "I know, I love you, I know." It's kind of humorous. And then "Lost Again" is a little more ballady. And then side two also begins with the song "Swing," which is kind of similar in some ways to like Tacos Putting on the Ritz, but it's a little less campy and a little more like kind of really referencing like 20s era or something like that, but through kind of creepy jazzy electronics. It's almost more like what Cure-ish in tone, like what the Cure was doing around that time. But anyway, there's a bunch of songs on this album. I kind of always think of this album because of the cover, also this gorilla motif, which is wonderful. I'm trying to remember the name of the artist here. I think it's Ernst Gamper. He did a lot of these paintings that were very unique, and Yellow used him quite a bit. And the album to me has this very like kind of, it's like Europeans that are trapped in the jungle or something. There's very like tribal rhythms to a lot of the music, and once you get past the first couple of club kind of songs, and songs like "No More Words" or "Smile on You" are a little more kind of like very strange new wavy kind of songs. But songs like "Great Mission," which is a song that sounds like Dieter's narrating a trip to the Amazon jungle, and he sort of takes on these strange voices, and it's almost more is more storytelling really, and that's followed by the song "You Gotta Say Yes to Another Excess," which is very kind of tribal rhythmic stuff. And the same thing getting towards the end of the album. Smile on, Salute Mayumba is very kind of almost, I don't know if that's so much tribal as it is more like Spanish sounding or something. The album is such a like a combination of like international sounds, melange of electronics and whatever. And the really amazing thing about all of this, after how many years of this and how many albums they've had, is that Dieter Meyer never had any kind of formal musical training. And the guys come up with like a million sounds, and their records are all great. This is a used copy. It's very hard to get the new reissues at this point, I think. But you'll find the used ones once in a while in stores. But anyway, You Gotta Say Yes to Another Excess, Yellow, 1983. Unlike any other musical artist of the 80s or before or since. I mean, other than the fact that they're a musical duo that works with electronics, nobody else sounds like that. So I recommend that, and check them out. Play that and Stella. Those are probably their two breakthrough albums, and then it goes a lot of different directions from there, but still sort of unique. So thank you all so much for watching my video today. It was a little bit long. There was a lot of stuff. Like I said, next week there's a ton of stuff, and I don't know how I'm going to get them all into the video, but I'm going to try. So, yeah, next week, oof, be looking for David Gilmour. Be looking for the formation of some Fish albums, 10,000 Maniacs, MTV Unplugged, a couple more Tone Poets, and then it just goes on from there. So, thanks guys. Take care. Peace. Have a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you next time.